to the Black Women's Wellness Podcast. I'm DeJa Love. I'll be hosting, and this is a podcast where we amplify Black women's voices as we discuss ways how we manage stress and maintain our well-being. We want to ensure that all Black women live productive, meaningful, and robust lives unhinged by stress. And we're excited that you are listening to today's episode. Really excited for our guests. We are joined by Erinn Dumas. Excited to have you here. And we're talking about how Black women in marketing, branding, communications leverage the field to support Black women's wellness. So happy to have you here, Erinn. How are you doing?
Well, first, thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Happy you're here. Really excited to just get into the questions. And I first have to comment on the beautiful colors that we see here.
Thank you.
The pink and the purple. It's stunning. I'm like, people seeing authentic DeJa. This is what Black women's wellness is. Showing up as yourself.
I know that's right. But, I love color, so.
I love it. It looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Before we get into our questions, I think the first thing is just, how do you personally maintain your well-being and wellness and balance amidst the busyness of your field of communications, of marketing and branding, where you're always having to know what's going on, news? How do you maintain that?
So it's funny because as I've gotten older, I've become more of an introvert. And so part of that is having that isolation. And so at first I used to recharge by being around people, but now it's like, no, I just need my me time, my decompression time. So some of the things that I do are isolation. I work out. I've kind of fallen off my routine, but I usually try to work out anywhere between 3 to 4 times a week. I also do yoga. And then one of the other things that I really like to do is travel. So, getting away, going to the beach, unplugging really also helps. And then lastly, one of the other last things actually that I do is I've started to set boundaries from working from 8:30 a.m. until, but now it's like come 10 o'clock-ish, it's me time. I'm like, the last hour of my day is for me.
Oh, wow. That's really wonderful to hear. And you talked about setting boundaries. How are you able to do that? Because I think that's a really common thing for a lot of Black women that are ambitious, that are really focused on getting to next levels. Sometimes boundaries, it's really hard. What has helped you in maintaining and setting boundaries?
So I just realized, that I am one of those workhorses. So I go. And then I'm realizing that I started to realize that I needed to decompress because always smiling, always talking to people, always being on my phone. And most of that time on my phone is with social media, posting, commenting, liking, doing all that stuff for my clients. And so I was just like, you know what? 10 o'clock. And I mean, my boyfriend was kind of getting on me. He was like, you need to, kind of like slow down a little bit. You need to have more rest, which advice he doesn't take for himself. But anyway, but then I started to think about it. And I was like, I really do need to have more rest. So it was just being very intentional about creating those boundaries and really sticking to it. I'm also one of those persons whose bodies, like once I set my mind to it, my body will follow. So around 10 o'clock as I'm approaching 10 p.m., my body's like, all right, we're getting kind of tired. So we're going to kind of just chill. And so then I'm like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. Time for me to just turn it, just veg out on TV, have a nice glass of wine, whatever.
I like that. That's wonderful to hear. Just really maintaining that. And then your body kind of listens to it. That's helpful.
Yeah.
As we take it a step back, I love framing the conversation with what you personally do to maintain your wellness and well-being. But what really got you into the field of communications, the umbrella, and then marketing, branding, and social media? What led you there?
So I'm going to correct you a little bit. So I'm a marketing person, and so it depends on who you talk to. So
thank you for correcting
people will say that marketing falls under that, but I believe that communications falls under marketing. So
gotcha.
My path to marketing was a very unique one. So going into undergrad, I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer, and I had already signed up for Virginia State University. And so my mom's like, well, I think she had started to pay on my tuition. So she's like, well, that's what you committed to. That's where you need to go. And so then I was like, well, when it came time to pick my major, I was like, well, in my mind, marketing was the business side of fashion. I don't know how, I had never really met anyone that did sales or was into sales. So it was just a figment of my imagination. And so I got into marketing because I thought it was the business side of fashion. And I've just, ever since I got into it, I've always loved it. I've always, it's something that comes natural to me.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So the correction, and I so appreciate it. So your view is that marketing falls under communications.
The reverse.
The reverse.
Yeah. So communications falls under marketing.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. That's the bigger thing.
But I have some classmates from grad school who believe that communications is the top of the umbrella and then marketing's under that. And I'm like, no, you're wrong. But difference of opinions.
Right. No, it's helpful. Thank you. It's helpful to see that and hearing your origin story, which is really unique because I think, and that's why we're so happy to have you here today, is post 2020, Black women make up the largest demographic of small business owners, and specifically in a period of time that is really leading the narrative in terms of, like you said, the communications, the marketing, the messaging. And I'd love to hear from you, how does this help Black women's wellness, given that we're leading and we're really challenging the narrative, even in social media feeds? It's very different from what it was just, 2 years ago.
I think what we saw was just Black women owning it. We've always owned it, but I cannot think of her name, but she was the founder of the Me Too movement. She was one of the first Black women. What's her name?
Tamara Burke.
Yeah. Yes, Tamara Burke, like her, and then the women that started Black Lives Matter. So those were some instances in really mainstream social justice ways that we saw Black women kind of show up. And so it's just, I don't know where, I guess that's where the movement kind of started, because now, as you probably know personally too, from your own friends and colleagues, it's just Black women are like, we're here, we have these businesses. And it's just become this phenomenal movement to see the array of Blackness, because we all come in different shapes, sizes, hues, all this stuff. And that we're all supporting each other. And that's what I really love to see, is that, because there are some women that don't believe that Black people support each other, but I'm not one of those, because my friends and my community has always shown up for me. And so just to see us represent, stand up for each other and support one another it's just been phenomenal to me.
That's a really good point. I think it's a really great point. I want to challenge you a little bit. I love your optimism and your belief that, we are supporting each other. There's the double edge of that coin, is that some, we're not a monolith, as you said. We come in all hues and just the array, but not all of us support each other. How has it helped you and just your work and your expertise, to not get caught up in those who are not, really supporting you, but really focused on your community, that's helping you to really push your voice and challenge a mainstream narrative?
So backstory for me. So when I was younger, I used to have issues of self-acceptance and self-esteem issues. And so back then I cared too much about what people thought. And so as I got older and came into myself, if you support me, great. If you don't, whatever. You know what I mean? So I don't really worry too much about who doesn't support me, because my belief in God is very strong. And I'm like, God's got me, and he's given me this gift for a reason. He's given me this gift to share it with the world. And, you know, those that choose to support me, I'm forever grateful for them, because, you know, it's like iron sharpens iron. And so, you know, if those that are supporting me, I really appreciate them, because we can't do it alone. And, you know, this notion that, and this is really kind of coming more so from the white man, you know, like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. I did it by myself. And it's like, no, no one's really done anything by themselves. So, you know, so I'm just, I mean, I also live in a bubble. You know, I have a very strong network. And so they've always supported me. And so that's also part of the reason why I don't worry about those that don't.
That's good. That's good to hear, the importance of your community and the people you surround yourself with. That's a really good point. I think it's hard for a lot of, you know, Black women, not generalizing, but we can be so hard on ourselves. And sometimes I think what's the saying, you can have 10 positive, you know, comments and feedback, and you have that one negative one and you fixate on the one thing. But what I'm hearing from you, Erinn, is just not like that one negative. There will always be that, but just transcending that and really focused on affirming yourself.
Yeah, and having those people around you that affirm you, because before I started Dumas 83, I actually had a clothing line, and my mother didn't believe in me. She didn't believe in me until a family friend bought or had commissioned me to make 4 blouses for her. And so then my mom's like, oh, you're really doing this. So, you know, I say it from the standpoint of my own mother didn't believe me. And so, you know, at first it was like, damn, like I said, this is what I want to do. Like, why are you not believing me? But then, you know, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so I pursued that. But I would say for those women that are struggling with, you know, with not getting that support, you know, my advice would be just continue to remember that God put this vision and this dream in your heart. And as you work towards it, you will see the right people being drawn to you. Because I've experienced that too. So like when I first started Dumas 83, and then I started talking to people about it, then it's like, oh, these different people that I know need marketing support. And so, you know, it was just as simple as me getting started. And then God started to put those people around me. And so that's how, you know, I got some of my first clients.
Oh, wow. And so for us, for our listeners, Dumas 83, tell us about the services you offer and just, you know, what you do, so that as folks listen to this, they may want to contact you also.
Sure. So I'm pulling up my website because I always forget one. But as I pull it up, I will say that Dumas 83 is a marketing firm. We are based in Washington, D.C. I started the business after 16 years of marketing experience within the corporate world. And at the time of this publishing, I'm still working in the corporate world. But I do run my business part-time. So the services that we provide are marketing strategy, branding, digital strategy, which includes like banner ads, as well as social media, public relations, content creation. And when I say content, I mean more from the writing standpoint. So that would be blogs, articles, messaging, and then lastly, event planning.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. So a robust array of services.
Yes, but we're not, I dare not to call us a full service firm just yet, because while I can make graphics in Canva, I am not a graphic designer. And so that is a very specific skill.
It's true.
I know website, but it's not one of my stronger suits just yet. And so that's why I don't say we're a full service agency just yet.
That's helpful. That's really helpful to see and to hear, to know that. You alluded to this,
yes.
But given, like you said, at the time of this coming out, you're still in the corporate sector while also continuing to maintain and lead your business. What challenges have you encountered, and especially being in a corporate setting, and even as a small business owner with the marketing, with a field that, for a very long time was very white dominated, white or our perspectives, our voices were not pushed, and arguably still are not. They're still not.
Right. I would say, that's actually a really good question. So on the corporate side, the challenge has been sometimes having people respect my expertise. So kind of as your question alluded to, there's not a lot of African Americans in this space. And there are some, and I know some, but it's still very much a white dominated industry. And so, a lot of, let me not say a lot, some white people think that they know it all. And so just navigating that as a Black person can be frustrating. That's the easiest way to say it. But I will also say sometimes, now I haven't necessarily had this experience, but sometimes, I just lost my thought. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Can we come back to this one?
Yeah, we can.
I just lost my whole thought.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We can definitely continue to pivot. And you talked about just the strategies of how you keep your wellness, given that white dominated field, sometimes your expertise is not valued, it's minimized, and the boundaries that you're setting. I think it'd be great to hear as a business owner, just kind of pivoting from the corporate side, what are those challenges that you've experienced, and how, as a business owner, are you also holding space for your own wellness?
So that was where my next point was going to go, is like, what are the challenges that I have? But I would just say, it's not really, thankfully, I don't have a lot of challenges right now. But I would say time is probably, having the time to do everything that I want to do. Or, and you've been really good at this, like in growing the business. And so I don't have enough time because I'm a solo entrepreneur right now. So I don't, I have to adjust my wake up time because I work better during the day, which is something that I learned. And so, making sure that as I grow, I'm able to dedicate the adequate amount of time per client because, you all pay me for a reason. And so you all pay me for a service. And so it's always my intention. Well, no, it's always my job to give you the quality of service that you're paying for, because my name's on the line. So I'm always going to put my best foot forward. But I would just say really time has been my biggest challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was just like, once I started putting it out that I do marketing, that I'm in marketing, the clients came.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And especially, I'm sure, clients that want a Black woman to really lead the marketing strategies, which is really important. And I would love to hear, how do you think Black women, we can continue to leverage our voice, given the marketing tools with its social media on websites, to really share our story and continue to challenge this narrative that has been dominated. I mean, I think even you just think during an election period, what you're hearing one-sided information. How can we use our voice with the tools of marketing?
So I would say, and not even necessarily just the tools of marketing, I would just say from a personal standpoint, always show up. And, a lot of us code switch. Unfortunately, I can't do it. It's too much of that. Like, what you see is what you get. Like, if I don't like you, you'll see it on my face. If I don't like what you say, you see it on my face. But if I like you and I rock with you, you'll see it on my face. And so I just encourage Black women to continue to show up for themselves and show up for others, because even though it can be a tall order for us and the pressures on us to always perform and be this very tight, image of a woman, I challenge that because, as I said earlier, we're not all the same. And so, what may work for Erinn may not work for DeJa, or may not work for Karen or whomever. And there are Black women named Karen. But so that was, my mom's name is Karen. So, but, and we're all very different women, but we're all smart women. We all have our expertise. And so I think what I would suggest is, in those instances where a Black person is being vilified or not being shown in the right light or being talked about negatively, it's on us to correct those people. And and for whatever reason, God has put this in my life, but I've been kind of that not token, but that Black person that always has to speak up to white people saying, hey, when you said this, it offended me. And I had to let them know, like, you can't say these things, essentially. And so just showing up for yourself and showing up for others is really the best way to do it. And that might be on Instagram. It might be on Snapchat. It might be in a blog. It might be in an article. It can be in a myriad of different ways, but just showing up is the best thing, and speaking up for others that can't speak up for themselves or too afraid to.
Yeah, that's good. That we maintain our wellness and really surmount these challenges by authentically living in our truth. And I love how you put it. Everyone, and again, everyone's on their journey. Some people are going to continue to adhere to respectability, code switching, but you saying, I can't do it. I don't have the energy. And I love that. And what's so important, I think, as a community, that we have to support you in that choice and not say, oh, you're not professional, and I know I'm going on a tangent, but professional by whose standards?
Exactly.
Your wellness is, I can't code switch. And that's so important. And you saying that as a marketing expert, saying, I'm going to authentically be who I am. And you said you have clients that are, still attracted to you, people reaching out to you. If anything, you're limited by capacity right now.
Right. Absolutely. And as I just kind of came into myself, I just, I owned who Erinn is. Yeah. And all of what that is, you know what I mean? And I was talking to my old supervisor yesterday, and she's a white woman. And usually, I think you and I talked about this, DeJa, how usually I don't get along well with white women supervisors. But this woman, she's cool as hell, down to earth, she's my homie. And she was like, code switching. I was like, yeah. I was like, some Black people do this. You know what I mean? And I was just like, I can't, because what it was she was trying to tell me to be a little nicer or kind of be a little more a little happier around this new male supervisor. And I was like, nah, I can't.
Good.
That's not me. Yeah. I can't be fake. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and we're not having white women tell us how to respond and to be.
So it wasn't in that way.
Okay.
I can easily see how that could be perceived that way, but she's more like a friend / mentor, and so she's like, well, maybe you can. And I'm like, nah. And she's like, okay. She left it at that. But I was like, I can't be fake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good one. And I think it just, what you just said, I go to Amanda Seales, love her. Her podcast is amazing. And, she's gotten a lot of pushback and a lot of critique, but she's really coming to her own of, she constantly says, I have to show up as myself. And if that's going to be, my hair is going to look in a certain way, I'm going to have no makeup on. Like, she has said, this is who I'm going to be. And people were coming at her and her comments about her hair and her makeup. And in recent episodes, her guests have said it's been so impactful seeing Amanda just be her authentic self. And it's given permission for them to be their authentic selves. And so just as you're saying, you being Erinn, it helps another Black woman see, oh, I can just be me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I do have issues with her and her hair just looking crazy.
No, don't say that.
No, because I'm like, you're still presenting yourself. And granted, yes, we all have bad hair days. We have days where whatever, but it's like, you're on this public platform and you could, I mean, like if you're in your pajamas, you're lounging, whatever, I get it. Not wearing makeup, get it. A lot of times we don't want to wear makeup, like the hell with it, but I'm just like, it just looks like she didn't brush her hair.
But I'm going to challenge that, Erinn. And, I care about, but that's, as you just said earlier, Black women, we come in the spectrum. Not all of our hair is going, like, I have my Bantu knots in. I know there are many people that pulled up and like, yo, what's up with her hair? And it's like, this is authentically DeJa. I'm wearing my hair in a way. And many people would say, oh, this is crazy. But she's saying her hair has a different kink and a different texture. And Amanda, from my view, is like, this is how I'm going to show up. I'm doing my hair. It's just not going to look to the standards. And I think our community, and I'm generalizing, we get caught up still in that Eurocentric beauty ideal. You have the different. So that's my thing. I love it because she has a platform, but that doesn't shield her from her humanity. She's a busy woman that has all these business streams. She's doing the podcast, the radio show, smartphone, like she's just doing so much. And she doesn't have an Oprah budget where she has her whole glam team. I appreciate it because I think everyday Black women see themselves like, yes, I don't need to keep the gaze of this beauty standard. I can just show up. And it just it really gives me permission. Because I could have really not easily, had a busy schedule, but done all this. I'm looking at you and I love the colors, but I love that that's how you show up. And I appreciate that about Erinn. But DeJa showing up like this. And I think there are many other Black women. So I'm passionate, clearly, as you can see. And I hold perspective of what you're saying. I appreciate
to each his own.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hear what you're saying. And that's why it's good that we know each other. No malice behind it. It's just, all in.
Because I think her message is good. And so like the things that she does, and sometimes it's a bit much for me. So I'm just like, okay, I won't look at this today. Like, but what she does say is good. And so I never want to take away from her message. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes I'm like, damn girl, can you just comb your hair? And I get it. Our parents come from the era, or from the Black Panther era, and they have the froze and all that stuff. But it just don't look like she did her hair. And I'm like, and maybe that's also my grandmother who's like, you don't go out without your hair done.
Yeah, you're right, to each his own, because she wears her braids and her curly, fro, and I love it. I love it. But, like you said, we can still be in community and have different opinions. And,
absolutely.
And that's what gives us just such value, is that we don't need to all think the same. Because I hear your perspective, and and that's, I'm Team Amanda all day. I just love her. I love her growth. She had all that pushback, and I know I'm derailing here, when she was on The Real and people were really coming at her. They didn't like her.
Yeah, I heard that, but I didn't watch The Real that much to where I really knew what was like going on.
Yeah. No, I love the tangents here as we talk about marketing and wellness.
Yes.
But bringing us back, I think, another question that I wanted to ask is how do you think marketing is hindering messaging of Black women's wellness, or is it helping it? And I say that because generally when people think about wellness, there's a stereotype, there's a caricature. It's either, and I hate to say it, but it's what most of us know, the white skinny woman in Lululemon, in this $500 attire. Like people think that that's wellness. And I know people, the Black Lululemon ambassadors are going to be coming for me. Y'all come. Because that's the mainstream approach of what people view. And I do have to actually, I gotta retract that because Lululemon just sent me a gift of shoes. And thank you, Lululemon. I'm loving those shoes. Those are great. I appreciate y'all. I'm just saying y'all could do a little bit more. But what are you?
So sadly, I don't think the wellness industry highlights African Americans enough.
Yeah.
I think because like you said, I mean, shoot, we still only have like 30% of advertisements that show Black people. You know what I mean? And we're in an age where a lot of companies are realizing that they do need diversity, equity, and inclusion groups. And so, I think this is why it's great that you and some of your other colleagues are on this path and you all are these trailblazers to show that, hey, Black people do yoga. We are fitness instructors, we are psychotherapists. We are all these different things. And we're in every field. I mean, hell, we started it all.
Right, right.
So, it's unfortunate that, the world hasn't got there yet, because even when you think about track and field, FloJo it's so funny because now FloJo was like so groundbreaking in the 90s.
Yeah.
But now those, like the long nails, the color, all the different outfits is now mainstream. But it was so, like not taboo, but along those lines, like, oh my God, it's scandalous that she has these long nails and got the big hair and all this stuff. And it's like, she was being her true self.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. That's so true.
Yeah. And I think where you see African Americans in those space more so is men, because you see a lot of Black male fitness trainers. But sadly, the wellness piece hasn't shown. We haven't been seen in those spaces. And I think, and you can speak more to this personally, but I feel like now we're starting to see more yoga instructors. We're seeing a lot more doulas and midwives. We're seeing us in certain spaces.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing that I've learned post 2020, where, arguably this nation had a reckoning and an awakening, but I even challenge that. That's white people's selective amnesia. They were, we are aware of all these issues, is that wellness, Black women, we've been at the helm of wellness. Yeah. It's just post 2020, we're seeing it more on social media. I've met so many Black women yoga teachers who have been in the field for over 20 years. And I just never had access to it, but what we saw all the time, yoga with Adrienne, and I'm not coming at you, Adrienne. It's just, there's so many other Black women in yoga and other spaces that that don't have the same resources, that don't get the same brand deals, that don't get the same partnerships that catapult them. And then it's not as ubiquitous as it is other people.
Yeah. And, so even as you were saying that, I started to think back to when I was about maybe like early teens. And, like we would see, and it's so funny because now as an adult, you kind of see how like limited your thinking was as a child. But, I remember seeing the Black women that were like, I guess, I don't know what the correct term would be, but like they were more of the free spirited women. And so they wore like the skirts and they had like all the jewels and all this stuff. And it's like those women probably were those yoga instructors that have been yoga instructors for 20 plus years that we just didn't know about. And, you know, in this DC area, everything is so corporate. It's so tight. It's so suited and booted. And it's like, if you're outside of that box, a lot of times people look down on you, sadly. But you're right. I mean, there are a lot of, and I mean, you know, the statistics, but I'm sure there are a lot of African American yoga instructors, nutritionists, life coaches, business coaches, all these different fields. We just, like you said, America had an awakening in 2020, sadly, with the murder of George Floyd. And now it's like people are seeing us in these spaces that like you said, that we've been occupying.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, definitely. And, you know, they're seeing us, but then 2 years later, some of them, we're seeing a lot of them, it was performative, you know, because they're not changing. And so we're still, you know, it's all cyclical. It's still like we're living in the 60s for our generation, this still very civil rights era of really just trying to push forward.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, again, because you and I are here in DC, you know, when you think about the nutrition and the wellness piece of it, Ward 8 is still 7 and 8 is still a food debt.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they don't have as many grocery stores. There's no reason why training isn't given to these people. There's no reason why there aren't jobs that these people can apply for, you know? And so that's why I'm mad that Bowser got another term, but you know, like she's not helping them. And granted, I'm not one of those persons, but in grad school, I did a project about healthy food. And we watched the movie Food Inc., the documentary.
Yeah,
and so it's just like, they want changes, they want these things, but some of them are just, they don't have the education, they don't know what resources are available to them. And it's like, it's just sad because the government is taking advantage of them.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also, this is we opening a whole other conversation, but it's structural racism. You know, that's built environment. Because as you talk about DC, Award 7 and 8, and let's juxtapose that to Upper Northwest, to, you know, Tenleytown, to Chevy Chase section of DC, not Mar. Like it's all built environment. These developers, it's urban planners. I mean, it's all methodical. It's not even happenstance.
Right.
And that's the part that is challenging, even though, you know, if we're talking about local politics, a lot of money, this administration is pouring a lot of money into Ward 7 and 8. Just don't know to what extent, how is it all appropriately managed? Is it, it's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
Because,
we could table our tangent.
I know. Right. This has been a really great conversation. I would love to hear, as we're wrapping up, Erinn, what else would you like to share with our listeners that you didn't touch on, or just closing words?
I would say continue to be your authentic self. It's going to make you the happiest that you're ever going to be. Don't try to fit in. Don't try to conform. Don't shrink yourself to fit in. You know, as Black women, we are the backbone of this nation. We're the backbone of our families. So stand in that power. I will also say, pursue your dreams, because sadly, even though I come from a middle-class family, you know, I wish I was able to pursue like the fashion design aspect of my, my childhood dreams a lot sooner than I did. And so I would say, just explore those possibilities as Black people. You know, we are not monolithic, and, you know, white people are given the grace to explore their passions in different ways. And so I just want to encourage the listeners to explore those things. And you may not like the first thing that you try. That's okay, you know, but continue to try it. And, you know, so continue to try it. But then the other piece of that is, if you don't want to work for anyone, that's fine too. Be an entrepreneur. Pursue that. There's so much money out here that is available to entrepreneurs. So, you know, explore that as well. Explore trades, because they forget that, you know, as an HVAC technician, you can make buku money.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until I worked in one of the trade associations in the HVAC industry. And I'm like, what? I could be apprentice, so I can go learn and make money?
Yeah.
Like, and I think master plumbers or electricians can charge $200+ an hour.
Yeah.
For 15 minutes of work. So I would say for Black people, for the younger audience, explore all your options, be yourself. For those older people, if you weren't able to explore those things, do it now. You know, have fun, enjoy your life, and live your life to the fullest.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Erinn. This has been a great conversation. We started about marketing and wellness, and then we went around DC politics and structural racism and wellness not being represented. But I appreciate it. It shows the robustness of us as Black women. And this has been a wonderful episode. Where can folks find you? We'll link it in the podcast description, but how can they reach out to you?
So you can either send me a message on my website, which is Dumas83. So DUMAS, the number 8, the number 3.com. Or you can find me on Instagram at Dumas83 Marketing Agency. It's a mouthful, I know. But I'm also there.
Wonderful. This has been great. Thank you all for listening to this episode of the Black Women's Wellness Podcast. Please subscribe, follow, and like. We are active on Instagram. Our handle is the BWWA INC. And you can find us also on our website at thebwwa.com. And we look forward to hearing from you, receiving your comments, and seeing what resonates for you. Until next time, stay well and remember that our wellness is infinite. Take care.